Hey, it's Debra Atkinson, founder of Flipping 50. One of the first things that someone will inevitably come to me about, or it's the second. It's first of all, I want to lose weight. I want to boost my metabolism. I want to benefit from better bone density. But while they're in the process of doing the exercises that I give them about that, they're realizing my balance is really suffering. I can't believe it. I didn't know it. I thought I had good balance. So, if that's you too, stay tuned. I'm going to give you a series of exercises that are specifically designed to help you with balance. But it's not just the standing on one foot while you're brushing your teeth kind. Stay tuned, and I want you to try these right along with me. In this first exercise, you can imagine you have a spot on the floor 6, 12, and 18 inches in front of your foot. And notice what I'm doing. The weight is on my left foot, and I have my right hand out. That is the way you walk. When you step out with one foot, it's the opposite arm that swings. So this actually improves your balance compared to trying it on the other side. So now here, right foot down, left foot or left hand is reaching. But notice that I come back each time to standing straight up through that hip. My weight stays on my heel. That's an important distinction. Weight on the heel, so you're using your glute. You don't just want to round down through the back. That's displacing your center of gravity over each of your feet in a different way than you're used to. Exercise 2. Now I'm adding a weight. If this is new to you, don't add the weight yet. So you're on one leg again, bringing this weight down and up. And again, it is opposite foot and arm. Weight on my left foot. That means the weight, hand weight, the dumbbell, is in my right hand. Weight stays on the heel. And notice I'm flexing my knee. I'm flexing at the hip, but my back stays relatively straight. So please don't round over keeping your legs straight. That's a mistake that often is made. Here we go on the other side. That weight is just touching down right in front of my toe. I'm keeping the weight close to my body and directly over my shoulder. And that's an important distinction. Plus, if you have any shoulder issues, please don't take that weight over your head. If you're doing it without weight, you may be fine just taking your arm up to reach, and that is making it a little bit more challenging. So it's 3 on either side. You could again come back and repeat that. You could do any one of these exercises as opposed to doing them all, but think of this as a little battery of a test. Now, I put that down on the floor. You could just use an imaginary line on the floor or a yardstick. Notice what I'm doing here. Touching my heel and then my toe, forward and back. But can you notice all my weight stays on that standing leg? There is no weight going forward to the front heel. I'm not putting weight on it, nor am I putting it down and back. Keeping my head up, my eyes forward, not on the floor. That's going to help my balance. Now I ride with my hands on my hips. That is also on purpose. If you're putting your arms out to the side, kind of floating them around literally like an airplane, that's actually not helping you. It's making it harder. If you need fingertips on the back of a chair or a wall or a couch, that's okay. Try to keep them as light as possible. Sometimes it's simply the idea you have support that can be very helpful. I will sometimes also do this over a weight bench. So there's a real lift and lower, like going over the hurdle that I have to compensate for. Either way, imagine it or do it with a prop. Holding a weight, again, optional. You may do this without, and I often will also do that. But I'm going to raise this weight up and over my head, and you don't need to see it, but I'm drawing little circles over the top of my head. And I know this may look like, well, that's not hard. I'm only making it look easy. And you may see me bobble a little bit on one or the other of my legs. But the weight should be on my heel. As I circle, I do about 5 clockwise, 5 counterclockwise on each leg. Coming to the other side, again, notice my head is up. I'm looking out 10 to 12 feet. Good, and there it was. So it's not always going to be perfect, and you will probably find you often have one leg that's a little bit more solid or stable than the other side. Circling that around, clockwise and counterclockwise, about 5 times in either direction. Good. And that was a 10-pound weight, but my weight is none of your business. So if you have shoulder issues, you're going to go no weight or you're going to go really light. Just turning toward you here, hands on the hips, and here's why this is really important. I do this, and when I do it in front of a mirror, it's not to watch the rest of me, but it's to see that my fingers touching my hip bones are staying level. Very easy to hike the hip of the leg that you're moving, what we call the gesture leg. And you want to keep those hips as even as possible. So what you're doing is really working a lot of core between your rib cage and your hips. Those obliques are working hard to keep the core and hips stable and same level. Just sweeping it around. For those of you that did ballet, that looks familiar. So just thinking front, side, and back, and keeping the hips as level as possible. Again, it really helps to have a light and dark short or top so you can see that line and see if you're tilting. Next exercise, knee comes up and it stays up. Now my weight is pushing in through the heel into the floor. My glute is doing all the work. So as I stand on my left foot, I'm really just squeezing and pushing forward through my left cheek and pressing and lifting it up. And then the other side. So go for 10 or 15. Just squeeze and squeeze. This is actually great core work as much as it is your gluteus medius. And that's the glute muscle on the side of the leg. Doesn't get a lot of activity the way it did when we were children and we moved side to side so much more. Next exercise here. I love this one. Now it gives a little hip mobility, but really you're moving out to the side, changing the dynamic in a way that we don't often do. You want to keep your hips as square and stable to the front as possible, but it is the movement of opening and closing that hip. Now, you don't have much resistance here. Like you're not pushing that knee backward against anything. So you're not working with your adductors, your outer thigh muscles in a great deal. You're just working on a little bit of mobility as you have dynamic balance because one part of you is moving while the rest of you, you're requiring to stabilize and stay there. Hang in there. You are almost done. Keep this one up. And last but not least, a little bit more vigorous. It's coming into a rear lunge and up to a knee if you can. Now, if that knee is just not going to happen, you're not going to go to full balance, that's okay. You can touch the foot down. But what I want you to notice is how lightly and under control I'm coming back. So it's really to set that toe down and come back into it. I can also extend that front leg. Now that becomes a little bit more range of motion and work, but it should go nice and smooth. No jerking, no speeding up or accelerating on the way down. You're not coming into a thud when you set that foot back. And when you're truly in a lunge, your rear heels should be up, not down. So reaching it further back. Again, notice my gaze has to stay up and on that one spot. If you really want support, holding onto your balance. And that's it. Last one. So here's what we did, and this is really important that you understand how this happens. So what happens when we're standing upright? Let's say this is your feet, and these are feet, this is your hips, this is your shoulders. And what's going on if we're here, here, and here is we're stacked up. We are stacked up, so everything is in balance right over this base of support, which is your feet. It's easy to balance when that's true. But let's say you pick up one leg. Now you have things kind of over toward one side a little bit more. We call the feet your base of support. And if your feet are here, They're about hip width apart. You have a good base of support. It's pretty stable. It's like building a house with dominoes or Legos. You know it's going to go pretty well for you if you stay there. It's when you start, I'm going to put one Lego like over here, the bottom one's here, and the next one is here. We're going to have a problem, right? The balance is not going to be great. Well, you're the same way. And yet, in activities of daily living, not always by intention, but sometimes because of ice or water on the floor, or something gets slippery. Your hands are full and you're lunging at something, and you didn't see the ground was uneven. We tend to have our center of gravity, which is really around your belly, your navel for most of us, not be right over that base of support. And that's when we're going to go down. So notice the activities that I gave you were just that. They weren't balances. They weren't just standing statically. Now, if you're just beginning and you feel like you're a little unstable, you want to do this at the kitchen sink where you can have a hand and put it on the counter or fingertips on the counter just for that security and insurance that we all need and want. Now, you might not be really putting any weight there, but just telling your mind, I'm okay and I'm safe will allow you to practice so that you can build your confidence and then go to the next step. What I'm giving you in this video is a little bit more challenging, but I'm doing that on purpose. That's when we fall. So when you go to the yoga class and you're all proud thinking I did tree pose, standing still in a cool, dark, quiet room, that is almost never the way we risk falling, the positions and circumstances that we get into that cause us to fall. There's noise, there's chaos, there is often things are coming in and out of our vision. So we're distracted by all of our senses in a way that we never are going to a calm yoga room. No, yoga is wonderful. And are you working on your balance a little bit and working on the muscles in your lower leg and around your ankle that are helping you to potentially increase your balance later? Yes. And is it great for calming your nervous system? Fantastic. But if you really want to prepare yourself for being in a situation where you might fall because you've tripped, it's slippery or icy, then you want to be doing some more of these things where you have to react and respond to your center of gravity not being directly over your base of support. So, multiple ways you can do that as shown. Try it with no props first. So, those things where if I'm picking up a weight and I'm lifting it up, you don't have to lift that weight up. Just imagine you're doing it and you will gain the confidence that you need to. Then that weight actually carries you a little further off that center of gravity over the base of support. It throws it off more, making it more difficult. But I want you to think again about activities of daily living. We carry a bag of groceries in one arm, or we're holding on to that, or holding on to a purse. Generally, we are lopsided. We're asymmetrical, holding something on one side, not on the other, while one arm may be opening or closing doors. So, practicing your strength training in that way also prepares your body for doing that one sided kind of work that will be required and called on in a split second when you're slip sliding away. So, you don't actually go away. Hopefully that makes sense. But the terms I've used and thrown out for you, balance, we all know. I really implied for you dynamic balance is the best way to go. It's manipulating your center of gravity and your base of support. If you're standing on 2 feet and they're right into your hip, you're pretty stable. If I move those feet together, you have a smaller base of support. You're not as stable. Again, if we take them really wide apart, you might lose a little stability there too, but not as much. If we take those feet, and of course, if we take one away, now a smaller base of support, but we could also take them and stack them. And so you're standing tandem or like you were on a balance beam, you're not as stable because if someone comes at you from the side, boop, you're going to go down. They come to you from the front and you have some space between your feet. You can leverage better than you could standing here. So it all depends on where the resistance is coming from. Intuitively, you know this. If you were to go downhill skiing, you're not going to put your feet, or ice skating, you're not going to really want to put your feet here in one forward, one back, because you're already feeling like you're going to fall over. So you'll put them here and you won't go very far with those steps when you first get started. Similarly, we kind of revert to that shuffle stepping when we get older. All of these things are very important to supporting your balance, your center of gravity over your feet. And at some point, you can use a partner and do some partner training while you stand in a position where your base of support is not as high. And you can take the back of your hands right up to someone else's hands. So you'd be pushing each other and just gently applying pressure, because then you have to work your core to maintain your balance. It's almost as if the wind is picking up and pushing you in one direction or the other. So start with these. Tell me how you do. Practice these. The great place for these to go in your workout, so we're not taking up more time or having you to say, oh, when do I do that? Do it in the middle of your warm up, or you do a moving warm up for 5, 10 minutes so that you're elevating your core temperature. You're ready to go. You do a few minutes of dynamic work like this. Your brain starts to pay better attention. You're activating the muscles in your glutes and your legs. You're going to be ready to go and get better results. You can also put this between exercises. I might do a chest press and a bent over row, both for the upper body, and then I'll slip in a standing balance exercise. So that'll take another minute. Now, when I come back to that second set of the chest press and the row, I am fully recovered. I've had plenty of rest before I repeat that muscle group again, but I also haven't sat down, scrolled through my phone. I've made great use of that time, not really added to my workout time. So, hope that gives you great examples. You can also do this in the cool down. And on a day between two heavier strength training days, say Monday and Friday, even Monday and Thursday, you're doing this is a heavy strength training day. Monday or Tuesday, you could definitely do functional kinds of balance work. So you are strengthening, getting some muscle endurance while you're doing that, but you're not interrupting your ability to recover from exercise. So getting movement, best of both worlds. Let me know what your questions are, and let me know how you'd score yourself. If you were giving yourself a report card, are you getting an A, a B, a C, a D, or an F, which just means you have room and opportunity for improvement. Don't forget to subscribe. Hit the bell. It'll give you a notification when I drop a new video.